And this is one of our bird songs. And the song's just talking about the movement of the people around the land. Hueleco, hueleco, hueleco. Mia hue umo memem, nenetu Sean Milanovich, nehen sekina, nekuktaska na hawi wa Cahuilla. I am from the community of Agua Caliente. It's a one band of the Cahuilla Nation, and live in the Coachella Valley on my reservation, on the Agua Caliente reservation. I have a wife, three daughters, three grandchildren, and my favorite thing to do is to go outside, go up, go pray, go hike the mountains, go gather medicine, go gather plants. And so that was a big thing that my father, Richard Milanovich, instilled in me, and to be outside and to make that connection with the natural world. And I've learned through our creation stories that Creator gave us everything that we needed. Our Creator Mukat gave us everything that we needed for our health, for our sovereignty, for our well-being, for the future of our children. And so I've made connections in all the four cardinal directions around me, and making relationships with the land, with the plants, with specific cultural sites that are important to me as and my family, and also to my tribal people. Also, but I am I am the vice president for the Native American Land Conservancy, and I've had that position for many number of years. And in that position, our our mission, our goal is not to acquire land, but to make connections with the land, and bring people out to the land, to reintroduce them to the land, help them learn the importance of the land, learn about the traditional stories, and the plants that are there for medicine, learning about the Cahuilla bird songs, learning about the salt songs. And the salt songs, along with the Cahuilla bird songs, are old stories that tell the history of our people. And a lot of these songs, specifically the Cahuilla bird songs and the lightning songs, they they give us ownership of the land. They tell us, well, these songs are really ancient. They go back thousands and thousands of years, but inside these songs, we talk about these places that we currently live on, and that we have been here for a really long time. And so, not that we own the land, but we are the caretakers. We are the stewards of the land. And so it's an important thing to understand what the songs are that you're singing about. It's important to be able to identify if you're Cahuilla. So I'm Cahuilla, and I can speak a little bit of the language, but I also sing our songs, and I'm always learning about the songs. There's so much to learn, and I study under an elder, and I work with many elders with the cultural sites. Um, and so I think that's a big part of my understanding of who I am and where I am going, and my responsibility to take care of the land around me. But as I said, I live in the Coachella Valley. That's here in Southern California. I live at the base of the San Jacinto, Santa Rosa Mountains, and this place is extremely important to me. And inside those mountains, San Jacinto Mountain, are the twin creators, Mukot and Temayawat. They continue to live in those mountains, and these a lot of these places hold power, and that power has been there since the world was created by these two twin brothers. And some people use this power. You can access this power to help your family, to help yourself, to learn about songs, to learn about something that if you have something, if there's a sickness, and you can go inside these places and ask for help from the Nukuchum, the first beings that were created, and they might share with you. They'll look inside your heart and see if you're worthy. And if you're able, if they think you're worthy, they might share that information with you, that knowledge. And so, but that's just a little bit about me. I went to UCR, graduated with I finished with a PhD in Native American history. And right now I work with Riverside University Health System Behavioral Health. I think the health of our community is extremely important, and a lot of the health issues that we face as Native Americans stems from the generational trauma that we have experienced and that our ancestors experienced 7 generations ago. And it, this trauma continues to recycle, and we there's domestic violence, there is physical impairment, spiritual impairment, drugs and alcohol addiction, mental illness. And so all of these things, I believe, stem from the trauma that we faced 7 generations ago when the United States government came into our territory, into our lands, at the end of 1846, 1847, and put started a process of genocide so that the United States could make way for more American people to move west. And so the idea was that the United States government would remove us from the land, eliminate us, and make room for all these new Americans that were going to be moving into California. So our lands were outright taken from us. And if we did not move at their will, we were slaughtered, we were killed, we were terminated. Later, for the ones that survived, we were put in forced boarding schools, and that caused a lot more trauma. And for several generations, we've been separated from our traditional lands, our traditional landscapes, our language, and our songs. And, just a few people carry on these ways and understand some of these ways. And I'm just barely learning to understand these ways myself. Well, how do you address trauma? I mean, that's a wonderful question. And one of my elders, Anthony Pico, said that, one, you have to acknowledge that you do have the trauma, and that there is a problem. And for so many families, you just can't quite put a finger on, where, there's something that's going on. You can look at your family, but you can't pinpoint it. But if you know that you're in this, you're a Native American, you know who you are, where you come from, and that your family had experienced trauma if you're a Native person in California. And so, and sometimes you might, how do you even recognize it? Well, you might get mad of, when certain names come up. You're angry about the United States. You're angry that you don't have your land. Um, Another way is you can't speak your language. You don't know your songs. You're disconnected. So these are all different ways that you can identify that you have that generational trauma, that historic trauma of genocide. So you have to face it, and that's half the battle right there. But one of the ways that I've learned from my elders is to not only do you have to recognize it, but to go out onto the land, go to these places where the old village sites, go to places where your people gathered, fruits, vegetables, gathered plants for medicine, where they went to go pray, where you're at. Also go visit places that where your ancestors are at. But a lot of these places are sometimes they're in remote areas. Sometimes they could be right in the middle of a city. What's left of that particular site. But so recently, I had been out on the Salton Sea at the east end of our valley, and my elder Carmen Lucas was sharing that to be able to walk on this land where our ancestors had walked for millennia, and to be able to walk on these lands, to pray, to gather, and just be present on the land, that right there brings a deep connection and understanding that, and it brings good health and wellness to your physical body, to your your mental health, and also to your spiritual part of your body, which comes from your heart. And so by being able to access to some of these cultural sites is has been a real barrier. We've been kept out of our sacred sites. A lot of these sites have been developed with agriculture, or maybe they have some other type of development, such as buildings, maybe towns, and a lot of towns were built right on top of our ancient village sites to erase our footprint. So to be able to access some of these sites is challenging, but to be able to recognize it and not understand that. And so when you go to these sites, you go there and you pray and offer up some tobacco. You can offer up some water, a piece of food, and say a prayer and ask Creator for help. And also at the same time, recognize that your ancestors are there. Their spirits are there, and that you want to talk to them and hear from them. And maybe they can contact you in some way, and from the spirit realm, and touch base with you. And you'll know that when that happens. And often when you want to do that, when the spirit side comes over and you're asking for something, and maybe there's a particular sound that you haven't heard before, or maybe it's an animal that you might see, and like right after you were praying that, and then that's kind of confirmation, letting you know that, okay, this is rolling, and this is what's going to happen. And so a lot of these sites have medicine on them too, as well. Sometimes there's like a lot of sites that I go to, there's tobacco growing there, and it's just like right there, and that's an indicator that you're at a very sacred place, and that's where the people would go for medicine, for healing, for prayer. And so I think that's how I deal with trauma, with the stresses of trauma, historic trauma. I mean, you can also go see a therapist, and sometimes that is needed as well. But I think going to some of these cultural sites, making that connection is a lot will help out a lot, because that's what there's just been a void or a black hole inside of us, and we don't know about that part, and we're so eager to learn more about who we are, where we come from, learning that history, learning those stories, and learning this is a lifetime journey. You're just not going to get it all at once, but like it comes in steps. And so don't be disheartened if it all just doesn't come to you all at once, but it's going to take years and years for that understanding, and just be okay with it, little steps. And because creator, he doesn't work that way. It's just not going to be something big and glorious. Like I remember I was praying for I was I don't know, I was really praying, and I wanted to see something, acknowledgement. And the spiritual leader told me, well, Sean, don't expect to see, you know, like 5 deer just walking down the mountain for you. It doesn't work that way. The way you see it, I mean, you can look at the flowers right there. Look at the butterflies that you see right there. Um, Look at the land, look at the rocks, and try to understand the connection between all those life forms, and then the connection with your life form and how you fit into it and your place, and understand their role and how we're all interconnected. And so that part right there is just like, woo, you feel so good. And when you can make that connection like that, it's just like, wow. And it's so simple. It's so simple. I mean, and it's just right out there. But when you feel that, when you see it, it's just an incredible moment that you've been touched that way. And that's what I want others to feel, because I know that's how I feel sometimes. And so I think this would be a good thing for many people to get out and make those connections with our spiritual sites, our cultural sites, traditional cultural properties, whatever you want to call them. But they're all places that are deeply connected to us.